numbers don't lie. If you look at the average cost of car insurance, right? Owning a car and having insurance on a car, an average car, 15 to 20 grand when it's purchased, right? And you pay about 150 to 200, at least here in Long Island. It might be a little cheaper in some other states, right? But let's just say 100 to 200 bucks for car insurance, depending on your age, all that stuff, right? So you're basically paying 10% of the value that you're protecting. Think about that. Same thing with a house, right? With a house, I did it backwards, right? When you're purchasing a house, right, the average cost of a home is 200 to 300,000. And you're going to pay about 100 to 200 bucks a month for the value of that house, right? To protect it, to ensure that it can be replaced. What is your life worth? You ever ask somebody that? Right? And look, I make this a little bit of fun, right? I kind of have a little fun with this, right? And you got to kind of smile and laugh and you know, and present it in a way that people can you know, kind of you can guide them. But what is your life worth? Yeah, to your family is, you know, son, there's no value to it. Yeah, no, that is fun. But let's really talk about what your life is worth monetarily. If you work 40 years of your life and you make an average income of 35 grand a year, okay, you would have earned about 1.4 million. Some people, you can say more than that, right? You're sitting down with a family that's making 50 grand or 100 grand. Put that number up. 100 grand a year is $4 million. 50 grand a year is $2 million, right? So use the number accordingly. And you would be surprised when you tell somebody this, Rob, when you tell somebody that you make 1.4 million or you make $2 million in a lifetime of $4 million, it literally astonishes them because nobody ever sees it like that. So the average person, 40 years they're going to work from the age of 25 to 65. You make an average of 35 grand a year. Your life is worth 1.4 million. That's what you bring to your loved ones. That's what you earned in a lifetime. Wouldn't it make sense, Tiffany, to protect your family $40 to $60 a month, which is maybe 1% of your income, to ensure their future? Wouldn't that make sense? You pay 5 to 10% for your home and your cars. Why wouldn't you pay 1% for your family? That makes sense, right? Notice again the process of how I do that. It's hard for people to tell me no once I have my hands on them. Now, I don't always use this. I don't always use it. Use it accordingly. If they're still fighting you, if you notice that it's really more of a monetary issue, help people understand, bring worth to life. And then you can justify cost. One way to do it. Does that make sense, everybody? Okay, awesome. So now there are 3 questions, and I teach my my agents this, I teach my team this. There are 3 questions you really need to ask when determining coverage. Now, I always tell the family I'm sitting down with, the potential client, look, most insurance agents ask you 2 questions. They'll ask you, how much do you want, or how much can you afford? The challenge with those 2 questions is that they're designed for them to maximize their income. Think about it. You don't go to the doctor and the doctor tells you, hey, what kind of medication or prescription do you want? How much of it do you need? If a doctor ever told you that, would you stay in that doctor's office? No, man, crazy. Of course you wouldn't. Right? You're the professional. Your job is to diagnose those diagnose me, and give me what I need. So the 3 questions that I ask, and I go through this with a client, right? So look, the first thing is there a need for life insurance? And again, as we discussed before, if you have a dependent, if you have someone else that depends on the money you make, whether it's children, in most cases, maybe a parent, right? Maybe a family that you take care of, right? Maybe you just don't want to be a burden if something were to happen to you. Like my mom, when she got insurance with me when I first started, nobody depended on her money anymore because we were all independent. We had our own jobs, we paid for our own stuff. It was more to ensure that we can take care of her, God forbid, she died prematurely, that it doesn't become a burden for everybody else. Okay, so there's multiple ways here to look at this, not just children, not just the family, even though that's the primary reason. Okay, so is there a need? And then you tell them, yes, there is. Check it off. The next question is, how much is necessary? Right now, there's really 2 ways to calculate that. There's the DIME method, right, which is just replacing debt, income, a mortgage or expenses, right? This, or some people just say, hey, 8 to 10 times what you make a year is what you need, right? You can calculate it like that as well, right? I love using the income replacement calculation, which says that for every $1,000 a month of income, you need $120,000 in coverage. And I go through that with the family. I write it out for them. So if you make $1,000 a month, Tiffany, and with that you pay all your bills, right? That's the amount you need to replace. And they say that the rule of thumb is $120,000. Why? Because if something were to happen to you, God forbid, your family gets $120,000. And if they're responsible and they put it in most people, first and foremost, how long is that money going to last? A year, maybe 2, right? But even if they're responsible and take that money, put it in a suitcase underneath their bed, they are able to take out systematically $1,000 a month for the next 20 to 25 years. I'm sorry, for the next 120 months or 10 years. Now, what I would do is I say, look, Tiffany wanted you guys to ensure that your lifestyle is taken care of. What I'm going to recommend is that you take that $120,000, put it into an account that yields you anywhere between 3 to 5% return. If you do that, you will be able to systematically withdraw the same $1,000 a month, except it's going to last 20 to 25 years as opposed to 10. This is called capital preservation. So I have essentially replaced you, Tiffany, not physically nor emotionally. I can never do that. But financially speaking, your family is taken care of. Wouldn't you want that? Absolutely. And then third, it's a cost weight benefit, right? Most things that we purchase or buy or make decisions on revolve around these things, right? There's always a combination of what you need versus what you can afford. If it were free, Tiffany, I would have millions of dollars protecting my family, but it doesn't work like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you viable options. We're going to determine, right, based on the fact that you told me you make $3,000, $4,000 a month, you need anywhere between $300,000 to $500,000 in coverage. I am going to come back with viable options, replacing 100% of your income and replacing maybe 50%. And then you can make a choice as to what fits best in your situation, where you're most comfortable in. And then I do that, guys. Right? Then that's a different training of determining how to quote somebody. That's probably a training I could do maybe the next week or whatever. How to determine coverage. Okay. All right. Does that make sense for everybody? Now, here's a couple of quick notes, and I decided to put this in because I was reading as I was preparing for this. I was reading a couple of different books and stuff on life insurance, and this is just, it pisses me the hell off, right? The North American insurance industry has assets of about $7 trillion. Life insurance premiums amounted in the year 2014 to 190 billion. Now think about the financial clout that the industry has. It isn't completely far-fetched that as an industry, they can afford to hire some lobbyists, right? Some people that got money and pass some laws and hide actual information, right? To offer persuasive public campaigns to protect their positions. That's how the world works. Who are the lobbyists? Who are the people behind the faces, if you will? The Federal Trade Commission, which is an entity, an authorization that ensures and protects consumers by offering up information on companies that exist in 1980, based on the FTC Improvements Act. It prohibited any future investigations on the business of insurance by the commission. How is that possible? How is that possible that the actual commission designed to protect consumers was banned from getting more information and, more importantly, giving out information to us as a consumer about the industry? How is that even possible? Because back then in 1980, and I believe it was the ex-president of the FTC wrote an article that exposed the insurance industry and showed how horrible whole life was. Can you believe that? But that's what we're fighting against. So when I said in the beginning, life insurance in and of itself isn't the sexiest product to talk about. I love talking about investments. I can do that all day long. But man, I love the fight, Tiffany. I love the fight, Rob. I love the fight, Richard. I just love the freaking fight against the industry. Forget these fools. Since I'm being recorded, I gotta be nice in case my mama sees this. Right? Forget these fools. Right? You have to get into a position where you know this so well, it doesn't matter who comes across. Right? Here's some facts, and this we got yesterday from the gentleman who's the sales manager, right, for your region. You know, he put this up, and it was ridiculous. So, crowdfunding funerals last year, over the last 12 months, right, have been one of the fastest growing categories on a popular fund, right? Like GoFundMe, raising money, and it accounted for 13% of all the money raised. Think about that. Why is that? Because people don't have coverage. They don't have insurance, right? Life insurance ownership gap, nearly 43% of Americans have no life insurance. 43%. And all those who own a policy, you know, 18% just have group insurance. That's through work. And we know life insurance through work sucks. Right? Now, permanent insurance is still dominating, and that has to freaking change. That has to change. 60% of life insurance policies purchased in the US in 2018 were some form of permanent life insurance or cash value policies. Only 40% term. That we need to reverse that. And guess what? Yes, admittedly, we're the only company focused on it. Out of 1,000 insurance companies in America today, out of 1,000, there's only one Primerica, one that is focused on term. That's why we got to go out and recruit the world, because the only way to get 100 million clients, which we are the company slated to do that, right? And companies that have been able to cross that threshold are legendary. Apple in the tech world, Amazon in the retail world. Well, in the financial world, it's Primerica. Why? Because we're focused on team building, distribution. How do we reverse that? Let's recruit the world, and let's go out and get 100 million clients, guys. It's a third of the population in the United States. That has to change, and I'm excited about that. Now, so let's break it down. There's two types of policies. There's term insurance, there's cash value insurance, right? In regards to term insurance, there's a couple of ways to get it. You have group term life, right? Usually offered through, and I'll cover it in a second, through work. Then there's FEGLI, and then there's level term, okay? Then there's cash value. And cash value policies, there's 4 different types typically. Whole life, universal life, variable life, index universal life. We're going to be going through these in a second of how they break down. So as far as term insurance is pure protection. Wow, look at that. Hold on. I messed that up. Okay. So term insurance is pure protection. Susie, why does it do that? How does it go away? Tiffany, you messed up my presentation. Come on. All right, anyway, that was Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman that talks about why term insurance is the right type of coverage. Okay? We focus on buy term and investor difference. Now, group term life is term insurance provided or is a type of life insurance in which a single contract covers an entire group of people. Typically, policy owners is the employer, right? We say that in our presentation, right? The owner, the policy holder is the employer or an entity such as a labor organization, right? Like a union. And the policy covers the employees or members of the group. Term insurance is the most common form of group life insurance. You got to remember, the contract is provided and purchased by the entity, the organization with the insurance company. So it makes sense that they're the owner of the policy, not the actual individual of the group or the employee. So that's group term life. Then FEGLI is a federal government, the federal government established the Federal Employees Group Life Insurance in 1954. So it's group term life specifically if you are a federal employee. And more specific, FEGLI is a 5-year level term policy. And up there in Virginia, now we became great at this, explaining this, TSPs, survivor pension plans, because in your area up there, down there in Virginia, near DC, a lot of federal employees. So you have to know this inside out, right? Not as much here up here in New York, right? Maybe some of the other states, but down there, absolutely, you better know FEGLI. The cool thing about FEGLI is you can just go in on Google, type in FEGLI, and it gives you the number, right? All you need to know is how many multiples they have of coverage. And their age and their income. If you know that, you know exactly how much they're paying a month. You don't need to ask any more questions because it's a calculation. Okay. And then, of course, there's level term. Term insurance is where coverage and premium stay the same for that period of time. And how long it is depends on when you purchase it, which is why we say not all term is equal. Right? I just recently had an agent who sold a 10-year level term to a client. Right? She's, folks, she's a soloist. She's licensed. She sat down with somebody. I saw the policy and I went over with her. Right? 10-year level term. The challenge is this gentleman is 44 years old. 10-year level term is not long enough. That's inappropriate for a 44-year-old. So I went over with her why that's not good. Right? Most companies, when they do sell a term, they sell it on an annual basis, a 5-year level or 10-year level. They do sell it 20, not as likely though. Why do you think they sell it 1, 5, or 10-year level terms for a 20, 30-year-old? They do it on purpose because they know after that period is up, the individual is going to look and question, why is it going up in cost? And that is a selling point for them. Well, you told me you want a term, but remember I told you that it's going to go up in coverage. It's going to go up in cost for you later on. It's like renting versus, buying a home. And it's gonna keep going up. As a matter of fact, look at the numbers annually.